gentlemen, welcome to Showtime at the Apollo. We've got a dynamic show for you tonight, and we're going to bring up our first act. Are you ready? Yeah! All right, here we go. Our first act is a poet. Yeah, a poet from Sacramento, California. Put your hands together for T-Mo. Metaphors, boo, speak to me, boo, boo. I was on Showtime after Apollo, and I got booed off. Not because my poetry wasn't great or I was soft, because I was in front of an audience that didn't want to hear any poetry. See, it wasn't an intellectual setting. Wouldn't have got any hand claps if it would have been a wedding. Every poet and rapper got booed off the stage, and as I left that arena, I went outside looking at the New York streets, feeling the rage, but then I thought about it. It ain't even about me. They didn't want to hear no poetry. And I'm standing on that stage, and I know I'm doing this poetry for all those times that I was scared to come to the mic, and for all those times that I was thinking that I wasn't a good enough poet, and doggone it, I got an invitation to Showtime at the Apollo. When I got that phone call, I could barely breathe and barely swallow. It was amazing because I knew I had accomplished something. See, I wasn't going on deaf poetry, and I wasn't going to a coffee shop to be a feature, and I sure wasn't going to do no open mic. I was going to Showtime at the Apollo. And as I'm looking out in the audience, I'm looking at these crazy fools, gay guys trying to get at me as I'm going to the stage, and I'm looking at people mooning me and stomping on the chairs, these wild, crazy people, and I'm thinking, what the hell am I doing here in New York? I can't believe that I'm in front of these maniacs who don't want to hear anything from my heart, and I felt no shame because I knew I hadn't even gotten into the poem, and I watched show after show after show after show where they booed and let go of some incredible talent, and I heard that poets in Sacramento had the nerve to laugh at me. Well, I wonder when you laughing at Luther Vandross, the next time you put that Luther Vandross CD in and got your booty call on, when you laughing at the same man who you say is the greatest singer in the history of R&B who got booed off at Showtime at the Apollo 5 times. I bet you don't watch those award shows and watch India Ari come up there and get an award, and I know y'all be jamming India Ari. Well, did you know she got booed off the Apollo too? All I'm saying is that you poets sitting back in your living room who ain't standing up for poetry, who ain't going out there being on Showtime Apollo, who ain't going out there representing poetry in Sacramento and representing every poet who wants to be a poet, who's just too shy to get on the mic, or thinks that they can't do it, or thinks that poetry ain't mainstream. See, I was fulfilling my own dream, and you got the nerve to sit there and talk about me and laugh when you ain't even doing half of what I'm doing in the poetry community. See, I was representing you while you sit on your butt, lay back in the cut. I was representing poetry, and they may not have seen me win that show that night, and they may not have seen me be up there and do a poem that's tight, but they sure did see a poet. When I walked off that stage after rubbing that little wood that brought me absolutely no luck, even though I don't curse, I walked outside and was like, what the? But I got back on the plane, pulled out my poem book and started writing more poems and kept myself insane. And as soon as I got back, I got spoken word artist of the year. And as soon as I got back, I went to open mics and got features everywhere. And I kept doing poetry. See, I kept it alive, because if I would have stopped right there, other poets would have stopped right there before they even got started. I wasn't hurt or broken hearted. I was motivated, inspired to do more and more and more. Because after being in front of an Apollo crowd, being in front of nice, loving, Sacramento people like you, I knew I could soar. So no, I'm not ashamed of being on that stage. In fact, I would like to ask every poet in there who would go there to be on that stage in my place tomorrow if I got the invitation. How many poets have actually traveled doing the spoken word around the nation? And if you watch Showtime at the Apollo or Oprah or any mainstream show, you will not see poetry. See, I just want to tell you this poem so that maybe you will not laugh at me, but get off your butts and start getting out there so we can be represented in poetry. And maybe we will have poetry on FM 102.3 The Bomb. And maybe we will have poetry on TV on the regular. But if you sit back and laugh, we won't have nothing. All you'll be doing is huffing and puffing, sitting there at Thanksgiving having your stuffing, and you ain't going to do nothing when 2007 rolls around but sit back and laugh at T-Mo and clown when I'm going back on the Apollo if I have to, when I'm going on Deaf Poetry. Now, be at every venue I need to be at. Why? Because I realized that night when I got booed off the Apollo after rubbing on that little fake wood and looking at big Monica trying to talk to me crazy. Doing this and doing that when I'm walking off. I knew at that point it had nothing to do with me getting booed off the stage. But the main point was that there was a poet on there. Peace.